Welcome to another edition of Brooks's Buddies. Today we have Canadian PGA Tour member Cory Renfrew joining us. Hi, Cory.
Hey guys, how are you?
Cory, thanks for coming or joining us on Zoom, I guess. I see here that you were on the Canadian Tour for about 5 years. That they call it the Mackenzie Tour. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. Started in 2012, and I think I went until 2017, so 6 seasons in there. But yeah, definitely tapered off towards the end, and but I definitely had fun traveling lots and playing, and especially here at Uplands when the tournament was here. And
yeah, so this, like I was just saying, I'm not a great golfer. I don't know a whole ton about golf, but from what I understand, that's professional golf, right?
yeah, it's kind of equivalent to, the WHL in hockey. So there's one level above it, and then the next level is like the PGA Tour. So there's tours obviously all over the world and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a pretty high level, especially nowadays with the competition.
Yeah. All right. So okay, I'm going to stop you there because I got a couple of questions about that. First of all, I had to talk to one of my golf friends, one of my buddies there, that he used to own Prospect Lake Golf Course there. So he told me, first off, what you did and what you're doing is wow. He was so impressed. He said how hard it is to do and the amount of hard work that you must have put in to sort of get to that stage. He was just blown away, and he was so impressed with how you did it. True, a lot of hard work.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of practice, kind of tons of hours throughout the week, days on end and stuff like that. And just over the years, especially. So the younger you can start and stick with it, it'll all add up, and you'll be further along for sure in a career or anything like that when you're playing.
So one of the things I noticed here on your profile was that you had a victory on the tour
Yes.
at the Syncrude Boreal Open. Is that right? Did I say it right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about that? That must be pretty amazing.
That was cool. Yeah, it was my first season out there, so I had just earned my card in the spring, and these tournaments were kind of late spring and the summer. I played well in my first event at Victoria at Uplands, and then 2 events later was the Boreal Open up in Fort McMurray, Alberta.
Okay.
And yeah, I won in a playoff on the 3rd or 4th playoff hole, I think. So we just kept playing the 18th hole. It was getting dark. We played it twice. I think it was the 3rd hole that I ended up birdieing.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that part about it.
Yeah.
That must be huge pressure coming into like a playoff type thing when you get there.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, 2015 was a pretty special year for you. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah. I got to play in the Waste Management Phoenix Open.
That's so okay. So this is where a little history came in, where I started asking about that from my other buddy, and he says, if you get to go in there, that's the top 1%. Top 1% of golfers get to play on that PGA Tour. Did you feel that when you were playing?
Yeah, not really. Like, I was definitely happy to be there and ecstatic to be there. Nervous a bit too, but it's yeah, it all kind of comes with it. The qualifying on Monday qualifying you often hear of is sometimes just a crapshoot. Anyone can shoot low for a day, but I was fortunate enough to be one of those guys, and then continue on and play well through the week and make the cut and make it to the weekend.
So
and then there's guys that are on tour still to this day that didn't make that tournament and stuff like that. So it's kind of golf's one of those sports where almost anyone can make it for a week or something like that, and you don't need a contract. You don't need to prove yourself as much as you would if you're a hockey player going through the ranks, or baseball, or other things like that. So it's one of those cool sports that you can kind of earn your way in for a week and parlay it into something more and keep it going, or just play alongside those guys.
but I think you put it right where it's one of those sports that you earn, and you're not given it no matter who you are or what you've done. You got to earn that.
Yeah.
Um, it, I now having looked into that that Waste Management Open, there was some pretty amazing highlight reel of you hitting a birdie on 16. Um, Maybe something special for you there.
Yeah, that's got to be kind of my most memorable moment in golf, I would say. And uh, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I was super nervous that week, especially that hole, surrounded by people,
Right?
and
Yeah.
that shot that was on Sunday. My adrenaline was fired up, so I actually hit my tee shot kind of too far, and then that was me chipping back towards the hole after going long, and then got fortunate and it went in. And I, joke with people that I blacked out. There was just so much going on there, but I managed to stay on my feet and kind of go grab the ball and stuff like that. So
Oh,
yeah, it was something I'll never forget for sure.
I bet. I mean, and if there's anyone here watching that I'd recommend that they go check out that, because it came up several times every time I kept looking around this, and it was pretty cool. I got to watch it. I was like, holy man, this guy is, yeah, way to go. So
Yeah,
it sort of
thanks.
made me feel pretty proud about what you were doing as well.
Yeah, thank you.
So you grew up in Victoria
Correct. Yeah.
and you went to Claremont.
Yeah.
And did you have a local course here that you played on?
I began playing at Cedar Hill just when I was like 13 and 14, so not as early as the kids you're teaching, the kids listening right now.
Yeah.
So if you guys can all start now, that would be amazing. You guys can keep it going. Cedar Hill, Gorge Vale, and then by high school, I was close to Cordova Bay. So Claremont and Cordova Bay have a great relationship with their golf program, and so that's where I kind of continued to play and work at Cordova Bay.
Nice. All right. So I'm just gonna ask you a question. A little, mental toughness, I guess. Like when I think about that, the birdie on 16, like you said there, and all the nerves and stuff that come through there. Like, how do you have that mental? Like, what can you tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think yeah, mental toughness is definitely, important and a huge asset for, athletes, anyone kind of in their day-to-day lives, and in sport especially. But I think it comes with good preparation and routines, planning so that you know what you're going to feel like when you encounter certain situations, and then how you want to deal with that. Definitely makes being kind of mentally tough and having a mental plan easier to then execute when those times come. Um,
Yeah.
Anyone can kind of look like they're having a good time when things are going well, and then when things kind of go sideways or unexpectedly turn, then the ones that kind of have a plan are the ones that are kind of mentally tough to kind of stick to that and try and turn things around as quick as possible.
That's a really good point. I think, especially having that plan.
Yeah.
In PE these days, that sort of well-being and having that mental toughness is really important, but it's hard to sort of get to. I think as the kids get older, they'll hopefully be able to look at that. Speaking of that, though, mental toughness, it's kind of hard right now. Like everyone's asked to stay home to do some social distancing, but it looks like some of the golf courses are starting to open up.
Mhm.
Are you playing, or like how do you feel about that, or what are some suggestions that you might have about golf right now?
Um, I I think golf's it's a great sport to be doing right now. But there's a lot that people can do at home. Everyone, lots of people I'm friends with or online or have purchased a hitting net and a mat, and they can do a ton of work at home, backyards. And if you don't have a lot of room, you can find a wiffle ball or a foam ball and kind of a room in the house, maybe even if your parents are okay with that. But yeah, golf, kind of like we were mentioning earlier, it's one of those great sports to kind of be outside and get away from. And I think it's a little fine line between doing that at slow times during the day, maybe in the evenings, or but yeah, really try not to gather with others, and and stuff like that. So I would just I would see if you can kind of create a net with your parents, and get a mat and some balls, and see if you guys can have some fun at home, working on your swings and stuff like that while staying safe.
And that's I think while staying safe is a super important part there, Cory. The other thing is that just the way you're explaining that just makes me think of like trick shots that people have done or that you could be doing at home and getting creative. Like, what a great idea! I think we should try that.
Definitely, yeah.
All right. Okay, so here you go. I've got another one. I'm staying active physically, hand-eye coordination at home, like those sort of things. Like, what are you doing, or what can we do? You got any ideas for us?
Yeah, so as for me, I have a 2-year-old toddler, so I'm kind of always active already.
Yeah.
But kind of allotting, so one thing I'm trying to do is allot 20 to 30 minutes of kind of elevated heart rate activity. So whether that's kind of some little jog around, and then some kind of dynamic movements of push-ups and squats and jumping jacks and kind of ups and downs, and something to get my heart rate going for 20 to 30 minutes a day. And then another 30 minutes of kind of sport related exercise and activity. So for me in golf, it might be, chipping and putting, kind of getting creative, and seeing if I can do like a little bank shot into a bucket, and stuff like that. So anyone else who plays other sports, same sort of thing, whether you can kind of stick handle with a hockey stick or dribble a basketball, and kind of see if you can do some trick shots or different things like that. So I try and get 30 minutes of kind of creative sport activity, as well as kind of an elevated heart rate piece in there as well. So one of my suggestions would be that chipping, if you can get some foam balls or some wiffle balls and a backyard, and kind of lay out some ice cream buckets, and whether there's some trees around or bushes, and kind of do flop shots and bank shots, anything. There's lots. If you can YouTube some trick shots and then try and copy them, have a parent film them or something like that, I think that would be really cool to keep you busy, keep you creative, and working on kind of hand-eye coordination, getting outside, enjoying the fresh air, but you're also kind of staying safe in your own backyard.
I like that. That's a great piece of advice. I'm going to come in with the last question here for you, Cory. I'm probably going to throw you a bit of a curveball here, but
Sure.
first of all, I know that, well, I've heard from Brandon Wong. I've heard from one of your former teachers, actually, in Kelly Nelson. He's also saying that you're quite the multi-sport athlete. Rumor has it that you could dunk a basketball. Is it still true, or maybe a little past your prime, or how are we feeling there?
I haven't tried in a while. A couple of years ago, I could do it.
Wow.
So I'd like to think I still can. So sure.
Yeah, nice. So as a multi-sport athlete, then I'm going to throw out there, like, my final question is your favorite hockey team. And I say that because this is just a common question that I usually ask. I'm sure you have a favorite golfer that has inspired you or thought about that. You can add that one in too as well, but we do want to know your favorite hockey team before you go.
Yeah, for sure. It's the Canucks. But it's the old days Canucks. I was huge when Bure and
yes,
Bure was on the team and Kirk McLean was in net.
And Trevor, yeah.
I have one and Lyndon was, so that kind of 96 team was kind of one I'll never forget, even though I was probably 10 by then.
Yeah.
But yeah, just kind of the generations, and then the Naslin, Bertuzzi, Morrison and stuff like that. So the Canucks in their different players throughout the years, but they're definitely my favorite team.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, they're coming up into, I think, another one of those sort of generations with,
for sure,
with some of their young talent they've got there. Okay, so favorite golfer, or do you have a Canadian golfer or pro golfer that inspired you, or you?
Honestly, kind of my favorite guys are the ones that I can relate the most to. And probably the closest friend and guy on the PGA Tour is Nick Taylor. So he just won at Pebble Beach this year,
Oh,
his
wow.
second win on tour. But I would just say that because, you know, we played on the PJ Tour Canada together.
Oh, cool.
He kept going. He made it to the next level, which is now the Corn Ferry Tour and the PGA Tour, and has 2 wins on the PGA Tour. So it's favorite, I guess, just because he's, you know, a friend. We know each other. But he's just kind of a great person. Doesn't let anything go to his head. Kind of is friendly to everyone and just kind of keeps working his butt off out there. So he's doing great and just has a new baby as well. So, but Mike Weir is always an inspiration, you know, winning the Masters in '03. And then kind of the obvious ones, Tiger, how much he dominated and kind of brought golf kind of the coolness factor.
Yeah, good point.
It's hard to put that aside. So those 3 for sure.
Awesome. All right, Cory, thanks so much for being one of Brooks's buddies. And yeah, we'll talk later.
You're welcome. Take care.